Good morning, my brothers and sisters. So good to see everyone in here. Some will recognize me, some probably won't, because I've been gone for 3 years already, and time just fly by. And you guys look the same. It's kind of nice to be back home. Uh, just bring the greeting from Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, it's about 60 degrees, nice and sunny. Georgiana has been sending me a screenshot about 60 degrees, 55, 60, sunny every day. Since I've been back in Chicago, Michigan, I went to Nebraska Union, and before I came up here, it's all snow day and also cold. And I thought, wow, that's the welcome home party for me. It's good to see you. Today I'm going to talk about you never know when God will use you. Sometimes you might have some thinking about when God is going to use me. We all prepare that. The Bible verse said, those that planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. Is this thing supposed to be turned on? Or is it on? Huh? It did? Okay, oh, they did it, I did it. Okay. Do you have some tricks, little tricks that you can do that no other people can do? For example, like playing the guitar, or playing video game, or sports, or studying, taking tests, or cooking. I'm sure some of you are doing something way better than the other people. They can do something better than the other people. Now, when I was in Philippines, Mountain View, I was there. Over in Mountain View College, I was standing in front of people. I said, do you know I can do something that other people cannot do? I can get my pinky move up and down without moving my fourth and third. Try that. If you move it down, you see, can you just coming down without moving the other finger? Can you do that? You see, I can just do it this way. Can you guys do it? No? And I also can move my eyeballs individually. Throughout the whole world, nobody can do that. I could have my eyeball stable one side and move the other one, and stable this one and move the other one individually. No other can do that. So when I told my brother and my sister, my older brother and sister, I can do that, they look at me, what for? Why? What is that useful? They said you can spend your time better than that. You can go and play piano like me, my sister. She's a concert pianist. My older brother said you should learn violin like me. My older brother, he played for Toronto Symphony, the orchestra. And they all can play very well. But I can move my finger up and down. And I can move my eyeballs. They look at me like, what for? Why do you do that? What's the need? What's the purpose? What's the practical purpose you can use it for? Do you ever wonder if God is going to use you, who you are, better than the other people? I can imagine that King David, had the same experience. Now, David was the youngest of the 8 sons that Jesse had. 8 sons. Now, the older brothers, all his older brothers are tall, handsome, strong. Remember that when Samuel saw them, Samuel looked at them and said, that's the king of Israel. The first one, second one, all the way to the 7th one. Samuel said, one is better than the other. Boy, look at that. God must be chosen these brothers. You see, they've been strong and tall and mighty armies for the King Saul. Remember at that time, Israelites were fighting with other countries. So they need to practice. They have swords and armors, and they were practicing. Now I'm sure, try to imagine that King David was a little boy. He followed his brother all over the hill. Have you seen those younger ones? They tried to chase after the older brothers and sisters. I'm sure King David was following them and tried to pick up the sword, but it's too heavy. He tried to pick up the sword, try to put the armor on himself, but too heavy, too strong, too big. They were laughing at David. Ha ha, look at him, look at him. Oh, he couldn't even pick up the sword. You know, you look at young kids, put up the armor, he cannot even walk. The older brothers kind of teasing him. Ah, look at him, it's so funny, so funny. Now, his father Jesse saw that, and he thought, I gotta help this little boy. So one day on his birthday, David's birthday, Jesse came and with this toy, he said, hey David, come here, look at this toy. Can you move back a couple of screens? He said, I had this when I was a little boy. Let me show you. David said, what is that? What is that? One more screen, back. He said, what is that? Jesse said, let me show you. This is like a slingshot. David said, what is this? Well, let me show you. Jesse said, I used to be playing with this when I was your age. Now David said, hey, I can do it. Now this thing is very light, very small. And David said, how do you play with it? How do you do it? Jesse said, okay, you hold this and put the rock inside that pouch, and then you swing around and around. David picked that up and said, is that like this? Swing around and around. Jesse said, yes, yes. Now when I say let go, you let go one side. Now one side you hook to your finger, right? Then when I said let go, you let go. And so David was swinging around and around and around, faster and faster. Jesse said, let go. And David said, what? He said, let go. Then by the time he let go, the rock was flying out and hit a pot. Nice pot too. Now you don't know why. Every time when a rock come out and hit something, it always hit the best in the house. It could be a nice pitcher or a nice glass or something like that. For some reason, always hit the nicest things. David's mother came out, what's going on here? Oh, look what you did. My best water pot. You hit that pot, now there's a hole. I have no use to it. What are you trying to teach him? Jesse said, oh, I'm sorry, it was just an accident. David, get out of here. Don't come close. If you're going to play that, go somewhere. And Jesse said, okay. Play somewhere else. You have to learn this and practice. So David went to the forest and went outside and tried to practice and practice. At first, he was trying to speed it up. And later on, he has to learn to let go at the right time. He was swinging and then he has to try to hit a target. Maybe a tree, maybe a rock. He just keep doing it. He just keep doing it until he get the place pretty well. Boom! It hit that. And then later on, he can swing and hit something, whoa, far away. He has to find the distance, find the accuracy. And then he came back and showed his brother. He said, brother, look at me. I can do what I can do. I can swing this and hit, boom, hit that. You see, I can hit that tree. The brother said, come on, these are toy stuff. These are little kid stuff. Look at us. We have real armor and sword. This is what we have to fight with our enemies. You think that our enemies will come like dogs? You think the enemy will come by and say, hey, shoot me here. They are not going to do that. You have to practice and be strong like us. Using the big sword, we can fight. You a toy, take it away. Don't show us in here. And David went out and tended the sheep. And one time there was a bear coming and chased after the sheep. And he just swing and hit the bear. And the bear ran away. And the wolf came and hit the wolf. And he even hit a lion, they said. Then he told his brother. The brother said, oh, the enemies are not animals. They are coming with thousands. You can't play with them. Go and practice the real sword. Now the Bible said one time, oh, it's not working. Okay. And Jesse sent David to the battlefield. And there was a giant. Giant was standing there and said, you guys are no good. Any one of you would come out and fight with me. Now this giant is 10 feet tall, huge, bigger than Shaquille O'Neal. David, just a little boy. And David saw them, he said, David spake to the man that stood by him, saying that, what shall be done to the man that killed this Philistine? And take away the reproach from Israel. For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the enemies, the armies of the living God? What David said, who is this guy here standing there? Anyone? How come no one's go out and fight with this poor man here? How come nobody's doing that? For some reason, I'm not getting this. And Elib, I don't know how you pronounce it. This is one of his brother, David's older brother. He get really upset with David. Shh! Don't speak like that. Who do you think you are? Now, sometimes older brother, we get embarrassed with our younger brother, right? Yeah? Do you have younger brothers? Or older sister get embarrassed with your younger sisters. He said, who do you think you are? Keep it quiet. You don't know what you're talking. Do you see that man? 10 feet tall. Who wants to go and fight with this? And if we lose, hear that, if we lose, all will be killed. That's why he was quite upset with David. Now that's very interesting that sometimes we get upset with the people, the brave people. Get upset of the people doing the real job, doing the real work. We said, keep it quiet. Don't say it. He said, you don't know what you're talking about. So, and David tried to take on Saul's armor and his sword. But he said, no, this is too big. I cannot even walk. I cannot even do anything. So David took it off. Sometime in our life, we think that we need education, money, or something special skill to serve God. Sometimes we try so hard to be somebody so that we can do the right thing. But it's very interesting that David put it on and could not move around. He said, I don't need it. I'll take it down. Sometimes God wants us to know we don't need the earthly treasure, protection, or special education. We only need the Spirit of God. So, David took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 what? 5 stone. We have a song we can sing that. 5 little stone, the smooth stone, out of the river, and put them in his pocket. And then he went out to face this giant Goliath. He went out and faced him. Is it? And David put his hand in his bag and took out one stone and sling it. When he was out there, this giant was looking at him saying, "What are you doing? You sent out a shepherd boy to fight with me? Who do you think you are?" But nobody willing to go out, and David went out. He took his rock and swing and swing and swing at it. What happened? The rock hit the Philistine on his forehead and fell down. David immediately went up there, picked out a saw, and cut off his head. David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the shield and killed him, cut off his head. When the Philistines saw this, they all started running away. For that day, David won the war. David never knew the little skill that he has practiced every day would save him and his people. Think about that. David, throughout his life, well, a young life, he has been practicing and practiced this little swing. He never knew that God can use him. Sometimes it's very easy for us to think about it. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to get all this training to serve God. Sometimes you don't need a theology degree, a religion degree to serve God. You can do just like David. With that little skill that people laugh at. Your older brother might laugh, but David used that little skill that saved himself and all his people. We often overlook the skill God has prepared us for his use. A skill can be simple, useless, or non-productive. God can use it for his own purpose. We never know. It was 20 years ago, something that I did not know that God can use it. It was back in August 1984. Before I finished my PhD, I offered a job as an actuary to work in a city called St. Paul. That's right. That's how I moved up here in 1984. August of 1984. I have been here since I know John for that long. I quit my study. At that time, I didn't finish my PhD. And moved to Minnesota and start working here. Now, this is interesting that 10 years later, in 1994, I started to have that urge to finish my PhD, to finish my degree. At that time, I thought, why? What for? Now, at that time, I already have my business. I have a couple business. One is my insurance agency. The other one is consulting firm. And I really don't need the degree. In fact, my wife, Kojana, said to me, well, if you're going to do it, but actually it's not going to do you any good. I said, but I have the feeling, I have the urge. I want to go and finish my PhD. So I keep praying to God. I said, God, if it's your will, you have to give me a sign. You have to give me a sign. Tell me that that's what you want me to do. And the Christmas of 1994, I went up to Toronto to visit my family. It was a Christmas time. So I went up there, and when I'm on my way driving back down from Toronto, I decided to stop by my old school, Western Michigan University. I thought maybe I should go and visit it. Now that morning, that's actually an interesting time. It was a January 2nd. It was a Monday morning. Now, it was a Monday morning, but because it's a January 1st was on Sunday, so January 2nd was on Monday. It was a holiday too, right? So that day, when my wife, Kojana, and Shanda at that time was sleeping in the hotel over in Kalamazoo, I took off and went to the school. Before I went to the school, I say a little prayer. I make a deal with God. I said, God, if it's not your will, if you want me to come back to study here, make me to talk to someone about my study at the college. So I went up to the college, drove in there. Nobody was around because it was a holiday. So all the building, were there, but nobody was walking around. So I was there by myself. So I went to my department. This is my department, the Everett Tower, they call it. And I walk in the building. Nobody was there. Walk around, nobody was there. So I went up to the fourth floor as my some of the professor was on the fourth floor. I walked around and couldn't find anybody. So I said, maybe that's a sign that God did not want me to come back to finish my PhD. So before I took off, I went to the bathroom, the restroom, the men's room, on the fourth floor. I went to the went to the restroom. After I finished, I opened a door. Right in front of me, there was an office, was open. The door was open. I said, that's strange. Somebody was there. So I walked up there and saw a professor was inside there. I walked up to the door and knocked on the door. Now remember that I make that deal with God. So if I see somebody, I better talk to that person, right? So I knocked on the door. He turned around. Turned out it was Dr. McKean. McKean turned around. I said, well, you don't remember me, right? It has been more than 10 years since I left school. And he turned to me and said, Dan Cheung, right? You remember my name? He said, yeah, you were here studying your, PhD in statistics. I remember you. So we sit there and talk and talk and talk. And I talk about, well, I'm thinking about coming back to study, but can I do it online or at the distance? And he said, it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult. I think if you seriously going to finish it, you better come back, move back to Kalamazoo. And I thought, well, it will be difficult because I have my house, I have my business, I have everything in Minnesota. He said, well, you have to think about it because I don't think you can do it in the distance. So that's very interesting. I had asked God for the sign. God gave me the sign. But I still have second thought. I said, that cannot be true. I said, okay, I make another deal with God. Now that's very interesting. And God has so much patience with me that I took the first sign, but I said, no, that won't count. I'll do another one. So I said to God, I said, now this is after 10 years. Usually any PhD program, you can have it in the program for 10 years. Then you have to start over again. Now at that time it was 10 and a half years already. So I said to God, I said, okay, I will go if you would help me to make the department, allow me to finish where I left off. That I don't have to redo everything again. Because at the time I was very close. I was very close to finish. So I called up to the department and said, well, where should I stand? They said, yeah, if you come back, but you already more than 10 years. He said the secretary talked to me that you probably have to redo everything again. I said, no, that's not what I want. I said, I don't want to start all over again. Besides, I make a deal with God. The secretary said, well, unless you want to write a petition, but this petition has to go all the way to the dean of the graduate study. Then they have to have a committee go through everything. But she said very likely that would not pass because we haven't seen that happening yet. But you can try. I said, okay, can I get the petition? So she gave me the form, and I fill out all the form and everything and mail it back to the Kalamazoo. So I haven't heard from them. And later on, she called me back. She said, good news. I said, what? I have no idea how, but they agreed to let you continue where you left off. You don't have to restart everything again. I said, really? Yeah, the committee approved your petition. You can go on. I said, is that right? I said, wow. This is the second time, right? God gave me the sign. He said, not that, not that. I have more for you. The secretary started telling me more. Now, think about that. I asked God for one sign, but God gave it more to me. Dr. McKean was in his office on a holiday and talking to me. That was the first sign. Western Michigan University allowed me to continue where I left off. That's the second sign. I said, okay. What else? She said, the statistics department decided to give you a scholarship. You don't have to pay anything. I said, that's fine. I'm doing okay. I can pay the tuition. He said, no. You should take this scholarship because that's the reason why. I said, why? He said, because if you have this scholarship, you will have your own office at the department so that you can, focus on your study. You have your own office there. And also, if you take this scholarship, they will reserve apartment for you when you move there. Because right now, apartments difficult to come by around the school. That's the apartment. And also, that's a very special one. It's the parking permit. At the university, if you have this scholarship, you have a special parking permit. You can park close to the building without paying. Now, if you guys know about University of Minnesota, how difficult to find parking spot, right? And it's expensive too. But I get my parking privilege. Then I thought, wow, I asked God for two things. He gave me 6 or 7 now, right? And then I thought, what about my house? Do I have to sell my house? What should I do? Now, this is very interesting. At that time, who was the pastor here? John, do you remember? Ben Basinas, yeah. Ben and Becky Basinas was here. And so, this was very interesting. They told me that Ben was saying that before he knew anything about it, he said, the lease of my apartment is up. I need to find a place to stay. I said, when? He said, in January 1st. So I said, wow. I was planning to move to Kalamazoo December on Christmas time. I said, wow, would you like to move in our house and help me to watch our house? He said, of course, I would. The house, you guys remember my house over in Egan. I have John to remember that a long time ago. And so, our pastor, Pastor Ben Basinas, the family moved in a house so I don't have to sell the house. They will stay there until we move back to Minnesota. Isn't that amazing? God had everything ready and prepared before I even tried to do anything. So, this is something that I was going to show you about my statistics study and things like that, but never mind. It was very difficult, to be honest with you. That year was very difficult. I was trying to maintain my business in here and also try to finish my PhD in Kalamazoo. Remember, I used to drive back and forth every other week. I drive back here and take care of business. I drive back for a year and a half. I've been driving between Kalamazoo and Minnesota. And during the weekend, I come back and work. And then during the week, and I study there. But amazingly, I finished my PhD. In fact, most of the people don't know that. The graduation day was Hannah's birthday. Uh, in other words, I did not go to my graduation. I did not attend my graduation because I could not tell Kojana. I said, sorry, I have to go. And while she was having a baby. And exactly the same day, June 28th was my graduation day. So I finished my PhD. For the last 20 years, I didn't know why God wanted me to finish my PhD. I keep asking God, why? So I thought God would use me when I finished my PhD. And I started to teach for the Metro State here, just down here. I used to teach some class there, but didn't feel like it's anything that is really serving God and doing anything different. And I continue to run my business. Remember, my insurance agency for the last 29 years. And John's no longer and Glenn no longer my clients because I moved away. But for 20 years, I continue my life, my business, my work, everything the same. I didn't know why. But somehow, God had a plan for me. And He said, I have to be ready. I wasn't ready. So during the last 20 years, I served for the Minnesota Conference and Executive Committee. I served in the Education Committee. I served in the Finance Committee. Served in the Investment Committee. I was a chairman of the Capital City Avenue School. And I have other experience, like my undergraduate. I have a secondary education degree. And I taught 1 year in the church school too. Now, if you see this, you would think of what God was preparing me to do until I received a phone call asking me to be the president of the Hong Kong Adventist College. Now, it was a surprise to most of you, right? It was a surprise to me. It was really a surprise to me. I had no idea when I received that phone call asking if I'm considered. I said, what? I have a good life in here. I have everything in here. I lived in Minnesota for 5 years now. Why would I want to do that? And also they asked me to be the president of the Chinese Adventist Seminary. Okay. It was interesting that all these years, in the last 20 years, without knowing that God has been preparing me for the job. I went back, same for my wife, Kojana. She gave up her professorship at the University of Minnesota. Now she's back with me. In the last 3 years, I thank God every day for giving me a chance to serve Him. Honestly, I never worked so hard in my life. Never have a job so challenging, so difficult. At the time I took over the college was losing about $4 million every year. The student body was hitting the rock bottom. Since then, our enrollment has been double. Our finance has been in the black every single year I was there. And last year, in fact, we have a surplus of close to $6 million. I ran it like a business and turned things around. You never know that God prepares for His use. Now, the Chinese Adventist Seminary, we currently have 1,200 students in China, all taking religion as a major, prepared to be a pastor. In China, we have about 500,000 members there. 500,000 members there. Is growing. However, lately that the government has been cracking down on us. Let me give you some example. They just passed a law. Children 16 or younger are not allowed to be in church. It's illegal to have any children like us in the church, 16 or younger. The government actually put camera outside of a church, recording if people bring the young children into the church. In fact, lately, since China has been cracking down, they closed about 200 of our churches in China. 200. And a lot of people have been taken to jail. Last year, 3 young men, 11, 12, and 13, they came to Hong Kong because they wanted to be baptized in the church, knowing that they might have to go to jail when they go back. But they choose to come to Hong Kong to be baptized. Every year, our seminary graduate about 300 people, 300 servants of God. Do you know how big is 300? We cannot even fit everyone in here. 150 will make it to Hong Kong for graduation, and we really have a good time because watching them willing to stand up for God. And I can tell you all the details, but it's amazing what is going on. I thank God every day to give me the chance to experience that. The first time I was in China, they took me to the police station and give me warnings. But somehow, God is good. I'm still standing here. We never know what God has prepared for every one of us. It is not a coincidence that you are sitting here. We might be doing something or studying something do not seem to be useful. Just keep doing it, learning it, because you never know when God can use it. I'm sure some of you are sitting here thinking about that. How can I serve God? What can I do? But you never know. Those little things you can do, God can use it. God can take it and use it His way. Psalms 92:13 said, "Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God." You are the one that God planted in this house of the Lord. He's going to use it. It's going to be flourish. It's going to make the change the world. Look around. Get outside and see what's going on around the world. And you realize that how soon Jesus is going to come.